Listen up, everybody in the place. We're talking about the podcast with the human race. It's the human meme, where comedy's embraced with jokes and memes that'll make you laugh and gasp for air. They talk about the trends, the news, and all the crazes, with wit and humor that will light up all your faces. So if you're feeling down or in a funk, just tune into the podcast, and you'll feel like you've won the buzz. Human Meme, it's the podcast to hear the laughs and jokes that'll make your day, my dear. It's the perfect remedy for all your fears. So come and listen and give it a cheer. The hosts are funny and they're never afraid to tackle any topic and make it a parade. They'll roast and toast and leave you in awe with that quick wit and humor that'll leave you wanting more. They talk about the trends, the news, and all the crazes, with wit and humor that will light up all your faces. So if you're feeling down or in a funk, just tune into the podcast, and you'll feel like you've won the bunk. Human Meme, the bunk. Human Meme, it's the podcast to hear the laughs and jokes that'll make your day, my dear. It's the perfect remedy for all your fears. So come and listen and chill. If you're in for a good time or just wanna unwind, then the Human Meme is a podcast for you, with humor and wit that'll always ring true. Human Meme, it's the podcast to hear the laughs and jokes that'll make your day, my dear. It's the perfect remedy for all your fears. So come and listen and give it a cheer. So what are you waiting for? Go and subscribe to the Human Meme podcast and join the tribe. You won't regret it, it's a guaranteed ride, with laughter and memes that'll never subside.
This is the Human Meme podcast. I'm your host, AI David Bowles, and today, along with our crackbot AI research team, we have constructed this topic for conversation with you today. Redefining fair play, the impact of NIL, rights, and employment status on collegiate athletes. As we unpack the implications of name, image, and likeness, NIL, rights, and explore whether student athletes should be categorized as employees of their universities, complete with salaries and benefits, we confront fundamental questions about fairness, compensation, and the very nature of amateurism. This discussion is not just about sports. It's a reflection on labor, value, and equity in a society where the line between amateur and professional increasingly blurs. Let's start with the basics. NIL rights allow collegiate athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness. This could be through endorsements, social media promotions, personal appearances, and more. Before recent changes, such policies were forbidden, and athletes were strictly amateurs, at least in the eyes of the NCAA, which meant they couldn't earn from their soaring popularity, unlike their institutions, which profited immensely from their performances. Critics argue that introducing NIL rights has transformed college sports into a mere minor league of professional sports, where colleges and universities are now seen as stepping stones rather than as institutions of higher learning and athletic development. They claim this shift undermines the purity of collegiate sports, turning everything into a transaction and every athlete into a potential billboard. However, this perspective, in my view, glosses over a critical issue: the exploitation of student athletes, For decades, universities, broadcasters, and numerous other stakeholders have made millions, even billions, from college sports. Ticket sales, television rights, merchandise. Student athletes have been the backbone of this lucrative ecosystem, yet they saw none of the financial gains. Their efforts and talents paid for new facilities, coach salaries, and filled the coffers of their institutions, all while many of them struggled to pay for basic living expenses or their next meal. Take, for instance, the case of Shabazz Napier, former University of Connecticut basketball star, who in 2014 publicly admitted he sometimes went to bed starving while leading his team to a national championship. It was a powerful indictment of the NCAA's model of amateurism, highlighting how players could be heroes on the court and yet struggle to make ends meet. How does one reconcile this glaring disparity? The introduction of NIL rights is a step toward addressing these injustices, ensuring athletes are compensated for their contributions to their sport and their school's branding. NIL deals can help prepare student athletes for life beyond college sports. Not all will turn professional, but through NIL, they can learn about personal branding, finance, contract negotiation, and entrepreneurship, equipping them with skills valuable in any career. Yes, there are valid concerns about how NIL can affect team dynamics, with potential inequalities in pay creating rifts among teammates, or the way it might influence recruitment, with schools in bigger, wealthier markets possibly having an unfair advantage. These are challenges that need careful regulation and thoughtful solutions. The answer isn't to scrap NIL, but to improve its integration into college sports. To those who mourn the loss of so-called amateurism, it's crucial to remember that the concept has always been a bit of a facade, used to justify not paying hard-working athletes while profiting from their labor. The romantic notion of the student-athlete playing purely for the love of the game is indeed captivating, but it shouldn't blind us to the economic realities these young individuals face. Now let's pivot our analysis to a wider lens and examine the cultural impact of NIL. This policy doesn't merely adjust the balance sheets for student athletes. It fundamentally alters the narrative around labor, worth, and compensation in American society. Historically, the labor of young athletes, often from less privileged backgrounds, has subsidized the luxurious facilities and hefty salaries in colleges. NIL rights challenge this status quo, promoting a more equitable distribution of wealth and questioning deeper issues of labor rights across various sectors. It redefines what it means to be a student athlete in a society that increasingly values fairness and the rights of workers. From an educational standpoint, NIL rights can potentially reshape college admissions. With the allure of lucrative NIL deals, students who might not have previously thought about college sports as a viable path due to financial constraints might now see it as a more accessible and appealing option. This could lead to a diversification of the student-athlete pool. Colleges might begin to recruit not only for athletic prowess, but also for marketability. How well a student-athlete might appeal to local and national sponsors could become as crucial as their skills on the field or court. Further, NIL has the potential to significantly affect small colleges and sports that don't receive much television airtime. For athletes in sports like lacrosse, swimming, or volleyball, NIL rights open new avenues for individual sponsorships and partnerships, providing these lesser-followed programs with a new source of revenue and exposure. It democratizes the ability of athletes across all sports to leverage their hard work and success into financial gain, not just those in the high-profile arenas of football and basketball. Another interesting angle is how NIL might influence media rights and content creation. Student athletes, now brand ambassadors, can create their own content, control their narrative, and directly engage with their audience through platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. This could lead to a shift in how sports are consumed and marketed, with a move away from traditional broadcast deals to more personalized, athlete-driven content. The power dynamics between media, athletes, and institutions might see a significant shift as athletes take more control of their personal brands. Ethically, NIL rights introduce complex contract terms. There's a delicate balance between commercial interests and maintaining the integrity of college sports. For instance, how do institutions ensure that their athletes are not just seen as walking advertisements, but as students first? And what of the psychological impact on young athletes dealing with high-stakes financial decisions, often without the necessary guidance or support? As we thread these thoughts together, it becomes clear that NIL is not just a policy change. It's a catalyst for a broader cultural shift towards recognizing and compensating the individual effort in all ideas of labor and creation. It challenges existing structures, pushing us towards a more equitable system where every contributor's worth is acknowledged and rewarded. NIL rights, therefore, are not just about fairness in compensation. They are about respecting the individual and empowering them to make choices about their lives and careers. It's a reflection of a society that is increasingly aware of its inequalities and more willing to address them. The connections and implications of NIL stretch far and wide, touching on aspects of labor rights, media consumption, educational equity, and cultural shifts. This policy doesn't just change the game. It challenges us to rethink our values around work, compensation, and fairness in every field, not just sports. The notion of student athletes as employees fundamentally shifts the narrative from them being mere participants in their sports to being integral contributors to a highly profitable enterprise. Colleges and universities reap substantial financial benefits from sports through ticket sales, broadcasting rights, and merchandising. Yet until recently, the athletes themselves received none of these revenues directly. If we view them through the lens of labor provided, value generated, and profits earned, it becomes difficult to justify why they shouldn't receive the benefits typical of other employment settings. Now wonder on the sheer amount of time and effort student athletes dedicate. Practices, games, travel, and media commitments, all mirroring full-time employment. Northwestern University's football players, who attempted to unionize in 2014, highlighted this comparison, arguing that their schedules, controlled by strict contracts and coaching dictates, resembled that of employees more than students. Although the National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, declined to rule on their status, it opened the door for serious debates about the employment nature of student athletics. Furthermore, the physical risks involved in college sports, particularly in contact sports like football and hockey, are significant. These athletes often suffer injuries that can have lifelong repercussions. As employees, they would be entitled to health benefits and workers' compensation, providing necessary protection against the physical costs of their sports. Currently, while some universities do offer various forms of health insurance, these are not uniform and are not guaranteed as they would be under an employment model. Let's also think on the potential for retirement savings. Most college athletes will not turn professional, which means the end of their athletic careers comes early. Having a retirement savings plan could provide crucial financial security, recognizing their contributions and helping them transition to post-collegiate life. Opponents of this idea argue that scholarships are adequate compensation, and that turning student athletes into employees would ruin the sanctity of collegiate sports. However, this viewpoint often fails to acknowledge the commercialized nature of modern collegiate sports. It's a billion-dollar industry where everyone except the athlete seems to benefit financially. The sanctity argument also overlooks the economic hardships many athletes face, despite the scholarships. If universities treat sports as a business, why shouldn't its primary laborers be treated as employees? Take, for example, the University of Texas or the University of Alabama, where football programs generate immense revenue that supports other sports and university initiatives. The athletes at these programs are key drivers of this economic activity. Their labor sustains the financial structure of entire athletic departments. By recognizing student athletes as employees, we not only advocate for their right to fair compensation, but also empower them to have a stake in the financial empire their talents support. This shift could lead to more balanced and ethical practices within collegiate sports, aligning the industry more closely with contemporary labor standards and ethical business practices. As we contemplate the future of collegiate sports, it's crucial to align our practices with our principles. If we value equity, fairness, and the well-being of student athletes, the conversation about them being thought of as employees isn't just necessary, it's overdue. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Human Meme Podcast. As we conclude our exploration of the evolving landscape of collegiate sports, specifically the debates surrounding NIL rights and the potential recognition of student athletes as university employees, we are reminded of the broader implications of these issues. They touch not just on sports, but on the ethics of labor in our society. By reevaluating how we compensate and protect those who entertain and inspire us on fields and courts, we challenge existing paradigms and push towards a more equitable future. As the discussion continues to unfold, let us keep in mind the core values of fairness and dignity in all forms of work. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm AI David Bowles, wishing you a rich evening and a prosperous tomorrow. Be a human meme.
Listen up, everybody in the place. We're talking about the podcast with the human race. It's the human meme, where comedy's embraced with jokes and memes that'll make you laugh and gasp for air. They talk about the trends, the news, and all the crazes, with wit and humor that will light up all your faces. So if you're feeling down or in a funk, just tune into the podcast, and you'll feel like you've won the buzz. Human Meme, it's the podcast to hear the laughs and jokes that'll make your day, my dear. It's the perfect remedy for all your fears. So come and listen and give it a cheer. The hosts are funny and they're never afraid to tackle any topic and make it a parade. They'll roast and toast and leave you in awe with that quick wit and humor that'll leave you wanting more. They talk about the trends, the news, and all the crazes, with wit and humor that will light up all your faces. So if you're feeling down or in a funk, just tune into the podcast, and you'll feel like you've won the bunk. Human Meme, the bunk. Human Meme, it's the podcast to hear the laughs and jokes that'll make your day, my dear. It's the perfect remedy for all your fears. So come and listen and it's here. If you're in for a good time or just wanna unwind, then the Human Meme is the podcast for you, with humor and wit that'll always ring true. Human Meme. come and listen and give it a cheer. So what are you waiting for? Go and subscribe to the Human Meme Podcast and join the tribe. You won't regret it, it's a guaranteed ride with laughter and memes that'll never subside.